All right. Show me the money. 5 tips to successfully raise money from sponsors. If you are all getting in full swing of your event planning here for this summer's events, I hope that you find this helpful. I am Samantha Montanaro, and I've been doing marketing and events for over 20 years. I have a lot of Portland-based community event experience for about 9 years. And a common theme with any of the webinars that I'm leading is collaboration because I'm passionate about it, and it has led to a lot of successful events in the past. So I am so excited to be here with you today to talk about how teamwork makes the event work. So we're going to start off today by going over just some different types of funding for your community event. I'm currently working on a district event for Historic Park Rose, so it feels awesome to be able to share some things that we're working on right now in hopes that it helps you. So to start off, in-kind sponsorships are so helpful in making your event happen. One of the types of in-kind sponsorships that I find to be really helpful is working with a printer. That's something that I'm currently negotiating with a printer in our district. When you can do essentially trade, right? If we're able to get our printing essentially for free and the print shop is able to get marketing at the event, that is a win-win. There's a lot of different kinds of in-kind sponsorships that can happen, but when you're looking at the basics of what you need for your event, um, it's often like great to consider this because even though they're not paying you actual dollars, they're saving you actual dollars on things that you might be renting, purchasing, or putting funds into for your event. So don't sleep on the in-kind sponsorships. It's a really great way to create a win-win situation for all. Media event sponsorships. This isn't necessarily, well, I put it in this bucket and the promotional partners and co-branding because these, again, are things that typically people can pay for. So media event sponsorships, getting different companies that are doing media to collaborate with you and sponsor your event is an awesome way to get more exposure and get more people to your event. For Toketivity, the company that I used to run, we would do a lot of media event sponsorships. People would always ask us, how are you getting hundreds and hundreds of people at this event? And for anyone who got an inside, they would see that we would not be working with a very large budget, and our media event sponsorships were really, really helpful. We contacted every publication and would say, hey, we'll add your logo on all the promotional material if you do one social media post or list us in your events happening. We would also do collaborations with journalists in this same right as well. So, contacting them and seeing if there's something that they need and, doing that trade is, it's just so valuable. Going to the next bullet point, promotional partners and co-branding. Um, this is a really great way to expand your reach and make an event really have a splash. For where we're at in the season right now, it might be a little bit late to add on someone who's co-branding your event, where you're literally like Historic Park Rose and Park Rose Hardware present, that kind of thing. Finding other promotional partners can be really helpful. So, we're going to go through the financial event sponsorship stuff, and it definitely does touch base on some of the promotional partner ideas for how to make your event more successful. Finally, on the list here is financial event sponsors, which is what we're here for today. So let's go into it. 5 tips for financial event sponsorship. Tip number 1 is start local. This seems kind of obvious, but the immediate businesses around where your event is going to be held there's obviously the greatest ROI for them. Not only are they getting exposure through the event, but this, it just impacts the immediate community around them. So I recommend starting with a brainstorm and a brain dump of any and all local businesses that might be interested. Don't forget to brainstorm even home-owned businesses. Um, you are all involved in your business associations and in the business districts. But if there's any small business owners here or other folks who are not necessarily involved, working with the business association and the listings is a great way to start. Um, like literally just Googling. We were doing this a few weeks back with Historic Park Rose. And I find it's way better when you have a few people sitting together to brainstorm, because it can kind of seem daunting on your own, to really brainstorm a ton of different businesses that might potentially be interested in paying for sponsorship. Do your research. Not only research businesses that may want to be involved, but if this kind of ties into seeking out your shared values, what companies are in alignment with what your event is even about? Say you're doing a tree planting event, prioritizing businesses that offer gardening supplies or plants, or landscaping, or, you can expand from there. That's like they have a shared value in what your event even is. So not only just brain dumping any business, hey, here's all the businesses that are around this place that we're doing this event, but really getting more detailed about why would they be involved, and doing your research as to what this business cares about and maybe what other types of events they're getting involved with. The more research you have on the front end, the easier it is going to be to steal the deal, because you're going to show that you know something about them. You're not just coming in blind and being like, well, tell me what you guys want. You've already done your research. Maybe you've gone on their Instagram or on their Facebook and looked at maybe some of the anecdotal type stuff that they've shared. Getting to know the businesses, getting to know the owners, it really goes a long way. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. Leveraging your contacts and the community around you is a natural way to start local. Literally going through your email contacts. Sometimes we forget. It's like, oh yeah, there was that person that I met at a networking event. When you're starting to branch out of the local, or I mean, even within, regardless, don't forget to go through your contacts there on your social media contacts as well. It can be really helpful. And then, of course, just getting really clear on what kind of businesses sponsor events like yours. This is where we can be branching out a little bit more too of say different types of banks, or in my research for this presentation, it was interesting to see the companies, like the corporations, large corporations that do the most event sponsorships, and Wells Fargo was number 1. So, getting clear on what, the different sizes of events, or I'm sorry, the different sizes of businesses. And if you do want to go for some of those big corporations, what kinds of events are they sponsoring? And how can you pose your message to reach them? So that is point number 1, starting local. Let's go to tip number 2. It's all in the deck. When I was writing that, I was thinking about Happy Gilmore when he's like, it's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. I was like, oh, it is all in the deck. It's all in the deck. Um, Making a really great pitch deck is, it needs to tell your story for you. A really great pitch deck can do so much work for you. It's really amazing. I highly recommend using Canva. If you're not already on Canva, it's a free design platform. It's really intuitive, easy to use. And what I love about it is they have a wide array of graphics. I used Canva to design this PowerPoint. And for those of you who don't know, I went to school for visual communications and graphic design. I have a degree in Adobe, and I use Canva all the time now because it's so incredibly intuitive. I love all the graphics that they have, and you can also make it interactive. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But you can really have a beautiful design. It's important to keep it short and sweet too. That bullet point is not on here, but you know, don't put so much information that someone's having to dig through. Really, an average deck can be anywhere between like 5 and 10 pages. 10 pages is even a lot. I think for our deck for summer nights, I think it's 7 pages. And you want something that someone can skim through pretty quick. They can click through it, or you can print it. They're going to be able to get the gist of your event. They're going to be able to see what the tiers are at, and they're going to know how to contact you. So setting the right sponsorship levels is really, really important as well. Sometimes people are like, you know, let's just go for it, $10,000. Or like, oh, we don't want to burn the businesses too much, $100, right? These are two examples of like maybe too far on either side. First of all, like, what are other events around you? What do sponsorship levels look like for other events? It's really great to do your research and ask other event planners. Y'all that are in this call right now, you're great resources for each other. What are your sponsorship levels? That might be something interesting for us to talk about at the end of this, webinar, because it's the sweet spot that really helps them sell. For me as a small business owner, $250 was not too much for me to get involved, especially an event that had like 500 people coming through it. That didn't necessarily come with a free booth. It didn't necessarily come with a whole bunch of other stuff. But my logo's on there. I'm getting brand exposure and getting the opportunity to get involved in maybe a different way. So the right sponsorship levels for you are going to depend on what your event is, how many people you expect to be there, and also what comparables are going on with your event. Say it's like a 5K run. The sponsorship levels often look way different for something like that than like a street fair. Cohesive look and feel. This is also really important. It seems like a no-brainer, but really, if your deck is not cohesive and doesn't have kind of this unified look, people's brains have to work harder to like see and understand what you're even trying to sell to them. So make it easy for people to look at it and feel and see what the vibe is you're going for, and create, it's also easier to make if you just kind of copy the pages, you come up with the design, and then you copy the pages and work down. Interactivity has become a really cool feature of modern times. I love that in Canva, you can create a pitch deck, like a PowerPoint, like we're looking at right now, and you can actually have hyperlinks that you can click on and see. You can also embed videos. So something that we've done for our Historic Park Rose event is we can actually embed a YouTube video from last year's festival in the pitch deck. How cool is that? You're able to get to really give a potential sponsor a snapshot of what they can expect. It's just so much more helpful than, you know, trying to convince somebody that this event is going to have people at it. If you have some sort of proof, link it and, make it easy for them to see. Statistics are always important to have in the deck. How many people, if this is a new event, what is your goal for attendance? What is realistic? If you have past events, for us with Historic Park Rose Summer Nights, we had about 500 people there last year. This year we're shooting for about 700. So saying that in the deck is really helpful. Including any other statistics too, like maybe the number of media partners or the number of vendors. We shared in our deck, last year we had 50 vendors. This year we're going to have 60 vendors, 3 food trucks, 4 bands, that kind of stuff. Really give them an idea of what they're getting involved with. And last but not least, your contact information. Never forget to put that in there. Some people, I think it can be helpful to even like literally have it as a footer on every page. Make it really easy for somebody to get in touch with you if they are interested in participating. Tip number 3, prioritize relationships. The relationships are everything with sponsorships, I'm sure you all know this too. It's like, if someone that you know and love and care about is doing something awesome, you're way more willing to spend your money on it, even if it's not necessarily exactly what you're looking for. So the relationships are really everything. So a way that I've managed sponsorships is I'll have just a basic spreadsheet, do that initial brain dump, and then literally come up with a timeline. So there's the initial outreach. You don't want to follow up too much. You don't want to hound someone. I think in all relationships, if somebody is reaching out too much or making you feel bad for not getting back to them, the chance of them wanting to work with you goes down. So give it some space. I love doing the initial outreach. Say initial emails go out on a Tuesday. Maybe on Friday at the end of the day, I'll send out, hey, just wanted to make sure you saw this. I'm going to follow up with you next week. And then do a follow-up, when you say you're going to. I love setting the due dates as well. Hey, we need all sponsors in within 3 weeks. So, that doesn't even necessarily mean they need to pay you then, but creating some sort of end cap is going to help people not think that they can just like hum and haw on it forever. It is kind of basic marketing stuff to tap into that scarcity mindset. It works, it's like you need to to communicate that you're going to miss the boat if you don't get in on this. Get excited, you want to get involved and you have 2 weeks to respond to me. Just being upfront and, whatever that due date is, that's up to you and your organization. It depends on how far ahead the event is. There's a lot of factors there. I don't think there needs to be any certain amount of time, but for sponsorships, I usually like to give it about a good month window. And especially if you can drip some stuff before it of like sponsorship opportunities coming soon, so maybe the whole process is 2 months from front to back of like starting to tell people, hey, we're going to have our deck available soon. Do you want to get it? Do you want to have this opportunity? And then the decks all go out to everybody. And then there's that follow-up. Prioritizing your relationships can also look like popping in to say hello, like boots on the ground, going to see these people, and even having it be like, hey, I was just out shopping today and just thought I'd pop in and say hi. Yeah, I'm working on Summer Nights right now. I'm really excited about it. Hope to see you guys there. Like even no pressure or not even necessarily asking, so you guys gonna get in on this or what? but just that personal touch, touching base to say hello and getting to know people. At the end of the day, again, it's like if people know you and they want to be involved with what you're doing, the chances of you getting those sponsorships is going to be way higher. The last point on this is definitely say what you do and do what you say. Be very clear about your timeline and then follow it. This type of consistency and responsibility that people see in you, it's really important. I think there's nothing worse than when people feel like their time and energy is wasted. It's a really good way to make people feel like you're not valuing their dollars or their time or energy, if you're not um, doing what you say you're going to do. So that's, I think, a really important point. Okay, number 4, use the cohort mentality. So I learned about this through a friend, Sarah Batterby. She passed away a couple years ago now, but we actually helped her record a webinar on this, and um, she had this concept really in the sense more around fundraising for a business. So actually like raising capital for your business. But I found it to translate really well into event sponsorship as well. So what is the cohort mentality? Well, it's kind of the idea, like we've already talked about before, of like batching communications. So first off, um, getting a list of even say like businesses, but not even necessarily. I don't want to go off too much on a tangent here, but I've just found this to be so helpful. Batching your communication efforts and letting other people know too who is getting an opportunity. It creates this like, I don't want to miss this. Say you have a lot of restaurants in your district. Maybe even sending an email to like 6 of them at a time or 10 of them and having it like all, not BCC'd, just having it to the restaurants and saying, here's the opportunity and here's the due date. It's going to light a fire under everybody's booties because they're going to be, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, okay, all the cool restaurants in my district are getting this opportunity and we have 2 weeks. Like, I want to get in on this. And then it's kind of like, who else is getting in on this? It creates that sense of, again, I don't even want to necessarily say like scarcity, but just really community. People want to do what other people are doing if it seems cool. So batching the communication efforts can be really helpful. In my opinion, with sponsorships, just even internally batching these communication efforts, it also allows for like less mistakes or less things to fall through the cracks. So if I have on my timeline that I'm going to send out all communications on Tuesday, I'm going to do an end of day Friday. Hey, just making sure you got this. I'm going to follow up with you next week, and say the following Wednesday is when I do all of that effort. It makes my workflow easier as well. So like doing those individual emails, there can be a copy and paste situation going on. It just makes it a little bit easier from an event planning standpoint. Carry on down here, back to the cohort mentality. Nobody wants to be left out. Everybody wants to be included. People want to get this opportunity. So, don't leave anybody out. You want their dollars and they want the opportunity. It's a win-win. Update sponsors on everything as they come in. This is an important one as well. It gets that kind of like nobody wants to be left out mentality. Say you send out this email to 10 restaurants and 2 of them right away are like, we're in. Add their logo right away. and, maybe the deck is sent back out. So say that email goes out on the Tuesday, wanted to give you this opportunity. The end of day Friday, you have two people that already came in. Put that on there. Sponsors are already coming in. Look who's already on there. It's already instilling that like brand exposure. This is happening. We're on it, right? It's really giving that like that vibe that every moment counts for brand exposure. And the sooner you get on this, the more people that are going to see your logo, your branding, and your business. And the last piece here too is making it easy on yourself. Using the cohort mentality really does, it does make it easier. It's like I was saying, even sometimes I feel like, when you're doing a lot of event planning, it's like juggling 25 things at the same time. So batching these communications, having those timelines, the same follow-up timeline, the same stuff, it just helps things not fall through the cracks, and it streamlines your efforts and how your brain works. Some people are really incredible at doing a lot of different things at the same time. Other people struggle with it. I think these days, most of us have so many communications happening from so many different platforms that it can be really overwhelming. I mean, if you're doing this outreach and it's like, okay, I have Instagram messages, I have Facebook messages, I have email, I have texts coming in. So batching all of these efforts, keeping it in that one place in your spreadsheet, or in your email, funneling everybody to the same place, it just can really make things a lot easier. And we have tip number 5, slay the follow-up. The follow-up on any event is so, so, so helpful. So, once you get your sponsors in and your event goes really well, you should already be before your event even happens, you should be absolutely considering the follow-up and what information are you collecting and how are you preparing yourself for next year? So, which statistics do you want to take? Images, videos, all of that kind of stuff. This is a really great promise to be offering your sponsors as well. Businesses can never have too many images or videos. If you're managing social media for your own business, it's an endless effort. So, sharing some of those statistics, images and videos right away can make everybody really happy and excited and make them feel good about supporting your event. Planning for next year right ahead, is such a great way to make fundraising easier the following year. Something that we do, with our events and like for sponsors is, depending on the level of sponsorship, for any higher tiered sponsors, I am doing a one-on-one touch base with them after the event to see how they felt about the ROI. Did they feel like there was a good, um, that it was a good investment for them? And is this something that they do want to do next year? Sometimes you can get a yes for next year in the moment right after your event, and you can get that spreadsheet going for next year, and your efforts are going to be, way less the next year. And it's just going to be more flowy. You're going to be able to focus on the expansion of your event or, pursuing other sponsors and whatnot. Deepening your relationships post-event. For our street fair, say we have a big sponsor come in, the event happens, we do a post, let's get together and have a drink or have coffee or something like that. Then maybe like 3 months later, I'll do another pop-in and just, continuing those contacts throughout the year is really, really helpful in just, making sure that people want to stay involved. They want to stay privy as to what's going on. And if you get any like info throughout the winter, say, for your summer street fair or something like that, sharing that info with them of like, oh my gosh, we have this really cool band that we're looking into, or, you know, if there's anything that kind of starts to happen before everything's in full swing, sharing that with your big sponsors. So they're getting like an inside kind of tip. I think that that makes them feel really good too, like you're collaborating. And maybe this is where bringing it back to the like co-branding, say there's a big sponsor that does come in, maybe in the future it is a, you know, this company and this association presents, and they're able to fund an even bigger portion of the event. That's always the goal. So, setting everybody up for success is obviously the goal. We always just want everybody to be feeling good, you know, right? These community events they're just so wonderful. And there's a number of things that can go awry in any of these events. So, making sure that you're really caring about that follow-up and caring about those relationships can make everybody feel good and set you up for success in the future. So, the final slide that I have here are some links from a past webinar that I did, and I'm gonna put this in the chat box here to these links. These are some great opportunities for not only grants, but also potentially for sponsors. Let's see here. Here's the chat box. I know that Travel Portland they do oops. Let's see. Is my screen share back up?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused. Yeah, Travel Portland they will do like the media sponsorships. So these are just a few ideas. Obviously there's a lot of others, and if anybody has any other ideas on this too, please do put it in the chat box. Willamette Week, Portland Mercury, you know, some of the bigger media publications, I think do this kind of stuff as well. But I thought I would just put in some of these links for potential funding. So I think that's about it here for the presentation. Are there questions?
Hey Sam, yeah, so sorry about that. Yeah, my question to you, I know you have mentioned about like sharing the data. And so I was just wondering, like, for say example, for Lens, do we have any empirical data that I can like glean on and share with like some of my community members?
Sure, I'm sure there is, Jermaine. We
Oh,
can definitely look into that. And
okay.
what might even be helpful is I know that they've been doing those like Lents wellness events too. I don't know who organizes those. Jacob, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so we collect that data in our grant evaluations. So if you applied for funding through Venture Portland in the past, then there might be some good info in those documents. And then, yeah, those wellness events, I think, are put on by another organization in the district. I can't remember the name right now, but I can get you their contact information as well, because I'm sure they're tracking that info for their own sponsors, so they should be able to provide that as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing here. There we go. Hi, everybody. I can see all your faces. Yay. Um, yeah, you know, and sometimes too, Jermaine, even if like maybe you don't have certain info, like, okay, so I know that you're talking about organizing a potential music event, right?
Yeah.
Maybe on the deck you could put some information of like how many people even live in Lents, and then what's your goal of like, our goal is to get 10%, you know, or like 5% of people who live in Lents to come to this, you know,
Yeah.
you can kind of like paint a picture in a different way, even if you don't necessarily have that that information from past events. You could also offer statistics, say you book 4 bands, you could get information from those bands too, of like, you know, each of these bands has a reach of, or, you know, or between the bands, there's a collective reach of 15,000 people on Instagram. Something like that, of just, again, painting that picture a little bit for like, what is the impact here? If I have a
Mm.
business, if I have a business and I'm going to sponsor your music event, like what does the exposure actually look like? And it's pretty amazing. You know, I have to credit my old business partner. She would just go down a rabbit hole sometimes for the statistics, and it was incredible. Like for the web engagement, we would have like our website statistics, and then for any of our media partners, and we would put it together, and it would be like the collective exposure for this event will get you like 1.6 million, you know,
Wow.
potential like, you know, on this number of eyes or whatever. And well, it can be hard to quantify, like, you know, exactly perfectly what it is. Being, you know, a lot of these media sites or different businesses or bands or whatever, people have information out there about this, you know, and the followers can be a really great way too. For some of our events, it was like, you know, there's a collective 463,000, you know, followers on all of our, between all of our collaborators. So if everybody makes a post, you know, that exposure is there. So
Yeah.
telling the story in some way like that can really like, it can just make it, it makes it seem bigger, but it's not even BSing, right? It's true. It is true. What is that impact, you know? And
Mm.
then that's, you know, we go farther into marketing then if we go any farther there, but it can be really cool.
Yeah, and then my second question too was related to Canva. Do we have an account that has like the premium that has access to the Pro Tools, or is that just an individual responsibility of the district manager?
I am not sure how to answer that question. Jacob, do you know?
Okay.
So that's one of the things that if you wanted to, you could spend some of the non-competitive funding on. So it's just
Mhm.
like, you know, having your own Zoom account for the district, or, you know, having a PO box for the district. If they wanted to budget funds for that, they could totally do that for
Okay,
Canva.
cool. Thank you.
I have to say it's like so worth it though. You know, I think it's $12 a month or something like that. It's just so worth it. Bless, did you have a question?
I was just gonna talk to Canva. I do not have the Pro at all, and I do amazing things on there. You just have to look a little farther. You know, there's so much that's free, and it's like Sam said, it's so intuitive that you can
Yeah.
really. I mean, I do graphic design stuff with it as well because I also do graphic design, and I find it so much easier. I don't find that I need the Pro for what I do as a DM.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, Jermaine, is that when I first started at Williams to get prepped for my events, I found that Instagram and Facebook, like digging deep into what we've done, really gave me tools to start going to organizations and be like, oh, this event had this reach on Instagram at this point. We're gonna double that. We're gonna do bigger. We're gonna like I just dug deep. I went back a couple, 3, 4, 5 years even
Oh
on
wow.
Williams, and it was really that's pretty much all I did for my data collection. And
Yeah.
they give you statistics, they give you analytics, they give you all that stuff, and you can look at every individual post that way. It was really
Okay.
that to me saved my butt when I was doing
Yeah.
events.
Thank you.
Blessed, I love that you brought that up because something we used to offer too through Toketivity, it would be like, you know, the exposure is like 94% women.
Yeah.
And like we could give like actually pretty specific, because the thing we were doing was female focused. So if we were getting a sponsor of a brand where it's like their target market is women between the age of 32 and 43 or whatever their, target market was, we were able to show that, this is our target market through these analytics
Yeah.
on social media. So that kind of stuff is all really, really, really helpful. And if you haven't done a deep dive on Instagram or on Facebook, it really does have that type of demographic info on it as well.
Yeah.
Laura, thanks for joining us. What is your
Hey,
question?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to add to that by saying when I first started, we had 90 people following us on Instagram, and we now are over 500 in less than a year. And I think what helped us was the hashtags and creating one proprietary to Midway, which is Arts and Midway PDX. And I tag that in everything because that's one of our branding platforms after we unveiled the mural on 122nd and Powell. So then that brought in people that would normally not follow us, or people that knew about the mural, knew about Alex Chu, the artist, but they weren't really sure what we do. And now they follow us. And I'm surprised, when I get a follower, I'm like, hey, they don't even live in our district, but they do look at our events. And even people that lived in the area and moved away are very supportive, and they help drive that out.
Thank you. I love that.
I love that so much. Yeah, that's great. Finding those partners that you can always be like tagging and collaborating with, it's just so valuable, I think about how many things I've found by just like stumbling across it, right? It happens all the time. It's really cool. Oh, something I also wanted to mention is that putting a little bit of money behind Facebook or Instagram ads can really like go a super long way, especially with sponsors. If you're able to tell them, hey, we're going to be putting some money behind this advertisement, get in by this day, like that's like on the timeline too of like on June 1st, we're running ads on Facebook and Instagram. You want it, you want your logo, you want your name to be on there, especially for those big ones. Say there is a $5,000 tier, or some bigger tier. This will be presented by, and if you have this in and we have the deal sealed on that, your name is going to be in front of that. And Facebook and Instagram can give you a better scope on depending on how much you're going to spend. But these social media platforms, Meta specifically, really changed the way that people were advertising. Like before, we would always do a PDX pipeline post. And PDX pipeline is great, but for like $100, I can actually do really targeted marketing, via social media that like the ROI is higher. You just know what it is. Like instead of it just being a post and you're like, I don't even know, like I know what their exposure is, but it can be hard to track if you did get people to come from that. Where on Instagram and Facebook, when you're putting money behind those, putting an ad spend there, you can really see like, well, we put $100 in and it went from 70 people coming to 323 people coming in the last week since running this ad. You can provide some statistics that are a little bit more detailed to your sponsors. What else? Anybody have any other tips?
Sam, I'm just wondering about recognizing sponsors. We've all seen logos on posters and stuff, but I was wondering, are there other ways to recognize sponsors that might incentivize them to want to join as a sponsor?
Can you be a little bit more specific? So you mean like just when you're doing in the research phase of like, who are we gonna ask?
No, it's more what are they going to get in return for sponsorship? So
Okay.
like different things you can offer
Yeah.
in addition to just putting their logo on something. Are there other things that you can do that they might see a benefit in?
Oh, absolutely. That's such a great question. I love something that we would always do is like experiential marketing is the most effective. So, how many times does someone have to see a logo before they recognize it? There's statistics out there, that kind of stuff is changing all the time. Getting sponsors to interact with people in a way, I think is something really fun that a lot of sponsors don't think about. I know we've talked about this in other webinars too, but say you have a lead sponsor come in, and part of the sell on this could be like, if you come in this lead sponsorship, you're going to get the premium placement at the entrance with a double wide booth, and we're going to help you create a craft that, people are going to make something and walk away with. This is something that we're offering through Summer Nights. It's because like a bank, it's like, how boring. Like people are like bored, it's like, what are they gonna do? It's like, oh, they have their like banner. It's like, cool. They're a financial institution. And like, please don't try and sell me on your bank. But if it's like, a craft station where people are making something, and I mean, there's a million ideas for what they could be making, but like, getting people to actually do something can be really cool. Also, of course, stage shout outs, if you do have a stage and you're doing something with music, giving people an opportunity to actually speak, that is something that is very valuable. I'm trying to think of some of the other stuff that we're offering, but sometimes like it can even be like so we're doing like a post festival happy hour, so maybe there's something like, or not a happy hour, it's like a post festival meetup at a local bar. And that slot is interesting in itself, right? It's like a little bit of a different way for people to interact. We're also doing at Summer Nights, we're going to be doing a district passport this year's, that people will get at the festival. They'll get the little passport booklet that will have discounts. So that's something that people can actually use. And this is our first year doing that. So we're gonna try to raise some money with that, but the goal this year is actually to just give businesses this opportunity to get in there and give our district businesses a chance to put something in for free to just drive local business, because that's the whole point of what we're doing. But again, that's like something that's interactive, so I feel like that is really, really super helpful. Yeah, the booth placement, as far as kind of basic stuff, the booth placement, we have this big blow up arch that we have for our festival. I cannot recommend investing into something like this enough. It's awesome. We don't have to like hang this banner or whatever, or figure out this thing. Every year we have these two giant blow up arches that go on both sides of our street fair, and they have these Velcro panels that you can print each year. So every year it has Historic Park Rose info on top. And then we have the panels that can be printed. So our top sponsors can get their logo and stuff on there too. And it is just kind of logo placement, but it's a little bit different. It's this giant blow up arch, it's not just like a banner. We do also put A-frames around for our top sponsors that we put additional things. You can think about getting swag done and getting, having their branding on there. Maybe it's something more clever, like a tagline or something like that, is wrapped in with somebody else's brand. I don't know if I can think of any other ideas, but I just feel like the interactivity is just what works. We have always done this, the flower crown making or boutonniere making. It is like so easy. It doesn't have everybody's brand on it, but when your booth is the booth that people come to play with flowers, and then people leave wearing a flower crown or wearing a little boutonniere or something like this. And then they're going around the festival. Where'd you get that? Oh, got it at the Venture Portland booth. You know, it's that word of mouth delivery of the brand that is like a little bit different too. Alyssa or Elisa?
Yeah, Elisa.
Elisa, thanks for
Hi.
being here. What would you like to share?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm with the Jade District, and so we put on the International Night Market every year, and it's a bigger one, but since we're all like working in little business districts, something that I'm doing for presenting sponsors is having the option of doing a walking tour of the Jade District for like 10 people from their organization. So that's going to be set up probably either before or after the night market. I haven't decided that actually. But like my supervisor has done it before for raffle items at other events type of thing. And it's really pretty low cost, especially if you have good relationships with the business owners in the area. They might even give you the things for free because you're not going to sit down necessarily for, you know, an hour at each place. You will just be walking and having, so we have a lot of restaurants like having a taste of like this restaurant's dumplings and then walking and then going to this business and, you know, tasting something from them. So it's a nice way to, like you said, interact, have people come out and see the actual district, especially employees that might not be part of that decision making of like sponsorships and stuff, and get people involved in your area.
I love that idea so much. Yeah, that's, you know, you're tapping in again to that interactivity. It's just something different and a unique way to get people in, you know, in the district, walking around, doing things, and also that brand exposure. That's a great idea. I see there was a question for the link to the blow up arches. I don't remember where our event planner got them a few years ago. I was just assisting at that time and he spearheaded that, but I see they have it on Amazon. I mean, it was like, oopsie. How do I do everybody? They have them on Amazon. There's a bunch of different places that you can get them from. Are you, Nikki, are you saying that LTD brand they have the arches or they just did the merch?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they just did our merch. So yeah, we
Cool.
employed them to do that for us. So yeah, and they're really good. They turned out great.
That's so great. Let's see. This one looks more like, trying to see. Yeah, I can do a little bit more research and go back to where we ordered our inflatable arch from, because even just doing a quick Google search on this, a lot of them don't have those Velcro panels, and I found that to be like the coolest thing about ours, because each year it's just a pretty low cost to print this, you know, thing that gets pulled off and put back on. And one year we didn't have a lot of sponsors, so we did like, you know, kind of the highlights of the festival, free live music, you know, activities, food, drinks, like we just had that on it. So we always have these like general panels that we can put on every year. And then we did one with the Historic Park Rose logo, but at the top it just says, you know, Historic Park Rose on it. So that's awesome. All right. Well, this was such a good time to connect with you all. This is something I really love sharing information about, because it can be really daunting and a little scary to be asking people for money. But like when you have a solid deck and you have kind of a plan of like, okay, I'm going to reach out to everybody and I'm going to do, you know, you just get better at it the more that you do it. You shouldn't feel bad to ask for money to support your community event. Brands pay money all the time for marketing in all kinds of different ways. It's not something you should feel bad about or feel awkward about. You know, put together the tools that you need to feel confident to get out there and be like, you're lucky to get in on this, because we throw this amazing event and so grateful, right, to all the people that come together to make it happen. Having that vibe about it really just makes people want to get on board because it's such a no-brainer. So really excited to support all of you this summer in your events. And of course, my contact information, you all have it, but I will be sending a follow-up email with the link to this recording and some of the other resources. If you ever have any questions about this kind of stuff, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to connect with you one-on-one if you need a little bit more, need a little bit more help. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining for this Lunch and Learn Wednesday, and we'll see you soon.